Good morning, dear students. I welcome you all in the Gyan Doot 2.0 online classes. And today, I, Mrs. Alka Panwar from Government Girls College, Ajmer, will teach you a poem by John Milton on his 23rd birthday. This poem has been written by John Milton when he felt that he has not achieved satisfactorily according to his age. Generally, what do we do on our birthday? We celebrate, we throw a party, we invite our friends, we feel happy, we receive gifts, we give return gifts. But here, on his 23rd birthday, John Milton is not happy. He has not thrown a party, he has not invited his friends, but he is contemplating, he is reflecting on his weaknesses, on the lack of achievements. So, this is how he is celebrating his birthday. So, let me read out first and then we will go on to explanation. How soon hath time, the subtle thief of youth, stolen on his wing my 23 year. My hasting days fly on with full career, but my late spring no bud nor blossom sheweth. Now John Milton is complaining that time, the thief, has stolen away his 23rd year also. He is not happy on his birthday, rather, he is complaining to himself, to time, to fate. Now, here you see he has compared time with a thief. How soon hath time, the subtle thief of youth? Now, time has been compared with a subtle thief, time which comes subtly and which takes away your youth. Now, similarly, in Shakespearean sonnets also, we find in several sonnets that he has compared time with a thief who snatches away youth, who snatches away beauty and strength. Similarly, in this poem also, in the very beginning, John Milton says that how soon hath time. Now notice the adjective soon. He thinks that very soon he has arrived to the age of 23. And time, the subtle theme of youth, has stolen away his 23 years of his age. Stolen on his wing my 23rd year. Now we have to imagine that time is a thief with great wings, and time is flying in a very speedily manner and taking away John Milton's 23rd year. My hasting days fly on with full career. Now he says that my days are hurrying up towards their end. I have no control over my age. I am already 23 and my hasting days, they are not walking, they are not running, but they are flying with full speed, with full career they are flying. Day by day, my age is getting over. But my late spring, no bud nor blossom sheweth. Now notice these binaries. How soon hath time, but my late spring, soon and late. Time has very soon taken away the 23rd year of his age, but the spring of his life, the productive period of his life, is not showing any bud or blossom. In other words, he says that my productivity is so meager that I am not satisfied with the completion of my 23rd year. So, the spring of my life, the most productive period and time of my life, the inner ripeness of my life has not yet come. And he says, my late spring, no bud nor blossom sheweth. There is no bud and there is no flower on the tree of my life. In other words, he wants to say that I am already a full grown man of 23 and I have not shown any signs of mature production, mature poetic productivity. So he is not happy with the proportion of his age and his production. Perhaps my semblance might deceive the truth that I to manhood am arrived so near, and inward ripeness doth much less appear, that some more timely happy spirits endueth. Now he says in the next 4 lines, perhaps my semblance means my appearance might deceive the truth. People might look at me and they might be deceived that I am a full grown man because I am physically full grown. In height and health, I seem like a man. That I to manhood am arrived so near. My semblance, my appearance hides the real truth, and my semblance shows that I have arrived to manhood very near, that I have become mature. Though he has become mature physically because he looks like a full grown man, but he says, an inward ripeness doth much less appear. My inward ripeness is not in proportion with my physical maturity, with my physical semblance, with my outward appearance. So people may think by looking at me that I have become a full grown man, and that my outward appearance may deceive the truth, and my physique might show that I am a full grown man. But inward ripeness means internal maturity, the maturity of head and heart, the maturity of thoughts, poetic maturity doth much less appear. That some more timely happy spirits endueth. Now first he established a comparison between his physical growth and mental growth, and the conclusion was that his physical growth is satisfactory, he looks like a man, a mature man, but his mental growth is not satisfactory, is not in proportion to his physical growth. And now he establishes another comparison between his own mental growth and his own poetic productivity and the poetic productivity of other timely happy spirits. Now, who are these timely happy spirits? Those poets who have achieved the same age, who have attained the same age, and their mental productivity, their mental maturity is in proportion with their physical maturity. And timely the spring of productivity has arrived in other spirits, in other poets. They are manly outwardly and they are manly inwardly. Their productivity is higher than Milton's. Their mental maturity is deeper than Milton's. So, 2 types of comparisons and contrasts he establishes in this stanza. First, the physical maturity of his own body and mental maturity. The second comparison which he establishes is the productivity of his own head and heart and the productivity of other people. Now notice the adjective happy. He is not happy. He is sad. He is disappointed with his own production. He thinks that till the age of 23, other people are so mature that their poetic productivity is high. And he feels that he is still very immature. He has not created as much poetic works as the other poets. So he uses the word happy. The other spirits are happy because their inward ripeness is in proportion with their outward semblance. But here it is not so with Milton. He is dissatisfied. He is not happy at all. Some more timely happy spirits. Now, those other spirits are happy because timely they have achieved that maturity and they are showing their production in the form of poetry, in the form of epics. So, here we feel a little bit undertones of jealousy and inferiority complex also. Now, in the next stanza, now from here starts the sestet. The octave comprising of 8 lines has ended and now the sestet starts. And there is a sudden change of mood. Now in the octave, Milton was complaining that time has very soon taken away, stolen his 23 years. And still there is no bud or blossom on his late spring. And he is also unhappy that the people of same age, his contemporary poets, they are much more mature and their productivity is greater than his. So he is in a complaining mood in the octave, and as soon as the sestet starts, his mood changes. And the change of mood between the octave and the sestet is called volta. And it is signified by any punctuation mark. As you may see, after the word endueth, there is a full stop, or there may be a colon or a semicolon, and that punctuation mark between the octave and the sestet is called caesura, because the thoughts of the poet cease over this point of time, and when the octave ends and the sestet starts, there is a sudden change of mood which we can see here also in this poem, and which is a speciality of Miltonic sonnet. Now, yet it be less or more, or soon or slow, it shall be still in strictest measure even to that same lot, however mean or high, toward which time leads me and the will of heaven. Now he consoles himself. As I told you that there is a sudden change of mood. He can't be in a complaining mood for a long period of time because he knows that God is graceful. And we should rely in the ways of God, because the ways of God are mysterious. We don't know what next step God will take for us. So he says, yet, be it less or more, or soon or slow. He consoles himself. It means the grace of God. Be it less or more, or soon or slow. He says that now I am feeling that the grace of God is less on me, the mental maturity is coming in a very less proportion. But he says, be whether it is less or more, or soon or slow, it shall be, means it shall surely come in my life. That mental maturity, that productivity, that grace of God will express itself. Soon or slow, less or more, it shall be still in strictest measure even. God is the great justice. And justice always is just with each and every person. And so he is ensured, and he assures himself that God will give me that grace. God will give me that maturity, that productivity for which I am yearning, Whether it is less now and it will be more afterwards, it may be soon or slow, but it shall flow in my mind, still in strictest measures even. As a businessman who weighs his goods in strictest measures, he never fails in weighing his goods. In the same manner, God will never fail in weighing His grace. It may come early to some people, it may come late to some people. It may come soon or slow, but it shall be. So he is consoling himself in strictest measure even. He consoles himself that I should rely in God's grace, in God's justice, and someday or the other, He will give me that mental maturity in strictest measure. To that same lot means to poets, He gives maturity to all the poets. So why will I be left behind? So maybe it may come soon or slow, or today it is less, tomorrow it may be more, but to the same lot God gives the same grace, the same gifts, however mean or high a person is. Okay? He says that God does not see meanness or highness while giving His grace. He gives to each and every person. We should have the capability to use God's gift. He has given us, He has endowed each and every one of us with various gifts. Gifts means talents. It is on us to recognize those talents and make most of those talents. So he says to that same lot, even I am a human being, even I am a poet, and as God has shown grace to other contemporary poets, He will show His grace to me also. So I should be patient. I should wait for His grace to shower on me. However mean or high, God does not see whether a person belongs to the higher strata of the society or the low. But for Him, each and every one of us is His child. So He says, towards which time leads me. Now He says, towards that maturity, towards that gracefulness, time is leading me. Now you see the contrast between His attitude towards time in the first line and in this line I am teaching now. He says in the first line, how soon hath time, the subtle thief of youth, stolen on his wing my 23rd year. Now in the starting of the poem, he compares time with a thief who has stolen away his 23 years. But now in the sestet, he is comparing time with a very graceful entity which is leading him towards the grace of God, towards which time leads me. Now in the sestet, he has no complaints against anyone. In the octave, he was complaining against himself, that he has not attained same maturity as his contemporaries. But in the sestet, no, he teaches himself to be patient. In the octave, he was complaining against time and comparing time with a thief who has stolen away his 23 years. But here he treats time as a very graceful entity which is leading him towards God's grace. In the octave, he was complaining against God too. But here in the sestet, he teaches himself to be patient. He consoles himself that God is graceful, that God does justice. So he says, to that same lot, however mean or high, towards which time leads me, and the will of heaven. Now, two things you need to achieve anything: appropriate and proper time, and the will of God. As in Hindi we say, समय से पहले और भाग्य से ज़्यादा किसी को कुछ नहीं मिलता. The same thought has been expressed by Milton also. You see, he has dealt with these two entities, Samay and Bhagya. Samay here has been expressed by the word time, and Bhagya, the word will of heaven. So when these two entities meet, then we are successful in any task. So he says, towards which time leads me and the will of heaven. When these two entities will meet, and what are those two entities of success? Proper and appropriate time and the will of heaven. That day nobody can stop me from achieving great poetic achievements, targets. So he says, consoles himself that time is leading me towards that gracefulness of God, and time will also be mature and time will also be favorable when there will be the will of God. So he consoles himself to be patient. Then he says, all is means all the gracefulness of God exists if I have grace to use it so. It is only that I should recognize my talents, and I should have the grace and patience to use my talents. All is. I have everything. I have the grace of God, I have the talents. I should recognize both these things. I should recognize the grace of God as well as my own talents, as ever in my great taskmaster's eye. So here there is a very beautiful metaphor where he compares God with a taskmaster. God has given task to each and every one of us. And with that task, he has also given us the gift. For some, he has given poetic gift, some the gift of music, some the gift of any other art. So he has given tasks to each and every one of us according to our natural gifts. So he says, all is if I have grace to use it so. I should have the grace to use the talents, to use the gifts given by God, as ever in my task master's eye. So there is grace in my taskmaster's eye. He is not a harsh taskmaster. His yoke is very mild. So I should not treat God in such a manner that he is harsh towards me. I should be patient, and I should wait for that favorable time and grace of God, with which God will endow me someday or the other. So I hope you understood this poem. Let us have a quick revision of this poem. In the first stanza, he compares time with a thief who is subtly flying with his 23 ears. And he says that my ears are flying away with full speed. Time does not stop for anyone. And he also complains that the spring of his life, the productive period of his life, the youthfulness of his life has appeared only physically. But youth hasn't appeared in his productivity, in his mental and emotional faculties. So he says, the spring of my life, the productive period of my life is showing no bud or flower. Then he says that people may think by looking at my manly appearance that I have achieved manhood. But the truth is that though I am physically a full grown man, but internally my emotional and my capabilities of my thought, they have not attained maturity as yet. And he compares his productivity with the productivity of his contemporaries, and again he feels disappointed. But as soon as the sestet starts, he consoles himself with the grace of God, and he says that the gracefulness of God will flow towards him. It may be less today and more tomorrow. It may be soon or slow, but God gives equally his gracefulness to each and every person, to that same lot. And he says that time is leading me towards that gracefulness of God. So he says that when there will be appropriate time and the will of God, that point of time will be my spring. That will be the ace, the zenith of my productivity. And he says that if I have grace to use the talents endowed to me by God, then surely I will achieve that maturity very soon. And God, who is my taskmaster, and He is my great taskmaster, He is not a harsh taskmaster, but He is a great taskmaster who takes care of each and every person. He loves everyone. So He consoles Himself in the sestet, and he is assured that God will show His gracefulness someday or the other, and he will achieve mental maturity as he has achieved physical maturity. I hope you have understood this poem. Thank you so much.